is not a word regularly associated with Factorio. Being a game of organization, planning, and calculation, most things in Factorio are predictable with enough mechanical knowledge and foresight. But what happens when it all becomes a jumbled collage of modifications? Well, I wanted to find out, so I installed 100 random mods, and the results were interesting. Underground attacks?
Oh, my children.
To start, of course, I had to first amass this medley of modifications. So, I opened up the Factorio portal, a random number generator, and watched this strange collection take shape. It was clear that some of these were going to be more helpful than others.
Whoa. Interesting. That sucks. That's gonna be a pain.
After some slight issues with conflicts and a short test run to make sure everything was working, I started up a new world. I crawled from the wreckage of my ship and into a world of endless night. I wondered what monsters and challenges lurked just outside the flicker of light from this flaming wreckage around me. Luckily, I was given a gift by the RNG gods to help me answer this question. Some very useful starting equipment. With my power armor, fusion reactor, and night vision goggles equipped, I could now see. And the very first thing that I saw would prove to be my biggest obstacle in this entire run. Not some monster or crazy recipe changes, but the very ground itself. Little did I know just how problematic this ironic abundance of ores would be. Thankfully, the crater left behind from my initial crash served as a cleared-out cradle for me to start my circuit-charged civilization in. Burner drills were easy enough to set up, but unlike ores in a vanilla world, these claustrophobia variants prevented anything except for drills from being placed on top of them. And because of the hodgepodge and scattered nature of the mod's ore generation, getting initial materials was slower than normal, especially with these severely size-limited chests.
Oh no!
I set up a quick filtering system so I could separate the ores and at least get some automated smelting up and running.
Boom, boom, boom.
Fortunately, though I would be dealing with the effects of these overly difficult ores throughout the entirety of the run, two blessings, perhaps the largest of the run, presented themselves almost in direct opposition to this challenge. I discovered the wonders of instant crafting speed and loaders. This combination not only made personal crafting instantaneous, but also made assemblers, smelting, and later refining lightning fast. With this basic ore harvesting and processing in place, progressing to automated red science and initial steam power was pretty straightforward. This, however, is when the natives first arrived. Though these beasts were not a threat to be taken lightly, my power armor came equipped with a massive array of personal laser defenses, ensuring any encroaching bugs were instantly obliterated. The suit would be enough, for now. I continued expanding, adding additional miners, improving the speed of assemblers with loaders, and increasing the throughput of everything with yellow belts. It was clear, though, that even with a multitude of drills, chewing through the ground would be tedious and take a long time. That's when I discovered mining drones. My first major target on the long road back to the stars. It would take a while to get there, for sure, but once I had these mechanical miners, perhaps I'd be able to shape the terrain the way I saw fit. With this new spark in my electric belly, I continued building, growing, and evolving the factory. I laid future plans for this electrical organism I was nurturing. More drills, storage systems, steam engines, assembling machines, and more science. With this new infrastructure in place, I was well on my way to my eventual goal of mining drones. This was when I unearthed yet another type of drone. Cheaper, though less effective, these primitive construction bots would launch me into a new age of swift progress. I quickly crafted a simple bot station and... Aha! I had bots. And at such an early stage, too.
Oh, here he comes.
Soon after, I had an epiphany. I could retrofit the bots that came with my starter equipment to use these stations.
Holy crap.
Things were really starting to take off at this point. Surely nothing could go wrong. There was no need to worry about it. I had turrets. At this point, however, I had done about as much as I could do without oil. And oil, well... It was going to be an issue I'd have to solve. But how? I could just drill through the ground, but that would take far too long with the technology available to me. So I experimented in pursuit of another solution and eventually found that train tracks, funnily enough, could be placed on top of the ores.
Oh, I can place train tracks down.
No longer was there a need to dig all the way through this sporadic menagerie of metal and stone. I could merely ride over it. But now the issue of the train station was at hand. Though the tracks themselves could be placed on top of the ores, the station and associated machinery would need clear ground. No problem. I'll just mine by hand. Maybe not. Though the blast from my ship's initial crash into the ground had cleared out a patch for me to begin my factory in, it had also thinned out the ores close by, deceiving me into thinking that all of the planet's ore would be just as easy to remove. This was not the case. As I traveled further from my initial crash site, the density of the ore patches increased. Mining by hand would not be a viable solution unless I wanted to hold down my mouse for the next 2 hours straight. What would I do now? How would I extract this black gold from those faraway fountains? I'd have to continue my experimentation, and fortunately, I had plenty of time to do so. It's not like the natives were getting more aggressive or anything. And besides, even if they were, I had turrets. And so, I tested a multitude of potential answers. Maybe natural gas was the way to go. Too far. Maybe I could trick the game into removing the ores with random buildings or tiles. No luck there either. Egregious amounts of explosive energy? Nope. Surely I wasn't stuck on this planet forever. Surely there had to be a way to progress. After hours of ideation, research, and strain, struggling to find a way to secure this source of scientific ichor, I was beginning to doubt. Would I ever taste this subterranean sap and continue my journey starward, or was this the end of a road that never had a destination to begin with? Eventually, I caved. I gave in to temptation and decided that I would succeed through willpower alone. Through blood, sweat, and pika pain, I carved out a small area, not large enough for a full station, but barely big enough for a barreling machine. I would just transport the oil from the fields by hand if I had to. After collecting this glorious mechanical nectar, I set up a processing plant. Soon, I had the hallmarks of a very eco-friendly factory. Products that all forms of life across the universe appreciated. Petroleum gas, plastic, sulfur, and turrets. Quickly following the initial production of petroleum came chemical science, and with it, a revolutionary new discovery. By harvesting the aquatic life forms present in the groundwater reservoirs, and with absolutely no adverse effects on the environment, I'm sure, the factory could produce bio-based lubricant. Little did I know, however, that this would be the fish that cracked the camel's back. Soon, the bug's attacks became stronger and faster. More aggressive. Ah! Oh, that wasn't too bad. It's a good thing I had turrets. And so I lay there, among the tattered corpses of my artificial children, completely intact myself, but destroyed nonetheless. I couldn't bear the sight of my own failures, so I wandered this hostile, alien world. How could I continue if any machinations I manifested were swiftly swept away by the wardens of this world? After a few hours, these all-devouring demons finished ravaging the corpse of my once bustling handiwork and returned to their nests. Then, the smog was whisked away on the wind. With this clarity in the atmosphere, however, came clarity of thought. Perhaps I wasn't resigned to a life stranded far from home. Perhaps I could build something else, something stronger than its predecessor. With the savages seemingly satisfied for now, and a couple of completely unrelated changes to the settings, I began to rebuild my factory. This time, though, it would be cleaner, more efficient, greener. Soon, now filled with replenished motivation, I rebuilt the factory, better than before. Drills, bots, oil, science, and more science! I entered into a peaceful time. I was slowly climbing towards the stars again. And on this climb, I'd finally reached one of the many peaks I had had my eye on from the start. Mining drones. It was glorious. Not only did I have a true mechanical manifestation of my efforts, but I had many, and they all craved one thing. Iron, baby, let's go! With these drones in place, the factory was now fully saturated with a beautiful blue ocean of iron. Now that this problematic resource was solved for, however, a familiar challenge showed itself once again. Oil. Like a one-man, or one Pikachu, bucket brigade, I was able to bring in a small trickle of the stuff by hand, though it definitely wasn't enough for my ever-growing production requirements. I needed more if I wanted to advance at a decent pace, but how would I get it? So, I started brainstorming again. Maybe I could route a pipeline through the empty space my automatons were now creating. This seemed possible, but to realize it, I would need more space, more children, more drones. But even my drones, in all their glory, were not fast enough to mine through this uncaring, unyielding wall of mineral. Unless I wanted to wait for ages for enough empty space to be created, I would have to find another way. Then, as luck would have it, I found one. To my surprise, I found that all throughout the outer ranges of rock were small pockets of empty space, holes left by the burrowing of bugs on their way to destroy my firstborn, perhaps. What better way to get back at the beasties than to use their own tunnels against them? Using this empty space, I placed chests and small drills along a pathway from the oil fields back to my synthetic settlement. After completing their tasks, the drills would leave behind small pockets of space, just enough for me to construct a pipeline of oil flowing into the plant. Eventually, these autonomous augers ate through the earth. Their tasks now complete, I could finally
acquire oil.
Despite my best efforts to keep the factory clean and prevent another tragedy, with the introduction of a steady supply of oil came the reintroduction of an old enemy. The bugs had returned. This time, though, I was prepared. I had automated my defenses, ensuring they were always ready for an attack. No bug would ever get to my city of circuitry ever again. But mere survival was not my ultimate goal. I still had to get off this rock. With my walls holding strong, I had the freedom to continue expanding the factory, and this expansion brought a plethora of improvements and breakthroughs with it. The first of these would shoot my production through the roof. I found, mostly by accident, that even low-level productivity modules, combined with the instant crafting speed of my assemblers, could double the output of all of my machines. Gears, plastic, circuits, plates, engine units, everything was doubled. But how far could I take it? Triple? Quadruple production? The factory's output was now soaring through the air, and soon I would be too. No more would I stay behind my walls. No more would the natives have any say over my destiny. No more would my fabricated firstborn's death go unavenged.
Big nest! More big nests! Big nest, yeah. Beautiful.
At long last, there was true peace. No sounds but the low hum of mechanical music danced on my ears. Until I discovered something both beautiful and devastating. This whole time, hours and hours of digging through ores, and all of it could have just been washed away. But now that this devastatingly simple tool had been crafted, there was nothing else between me and the stars. The bugs were all but gone. The ground was now mere putty in my hands. Materials could be created almost out of thin air. And so I climbed. Production science, concrete, titanium, heavy fuel. And finally, I could leave this place. Finally, I could bid farewell to my children. Finally, I could go home.
Oh my gosh. Alrighty. Let's look at these stats. Man. It's a lot.